Is it the reason why you guys are not paying whatever that vendor is?
What was it for?
It was for sure.
Tiffany Henyard, the town's first female mayor and a trailblazer, has been hailed for shattering gender stereotypes, but now she finds herself at the center of a political storm that has utterly upended the little Illinois village, is currently being overshadowed by serious allegations of power abuse, corruption, and financial mismanagement, as the problematic mayor is the subject of more and more investigations. Her leadership has been questioned by both locals and critics. Charges against Henyard include claims that she appointed incompetent allies to key positions and embezzled public funds for personal indulgences, further solidifying her power. Residents have expressed sentiments of betrayal, disillusionment, and mistrust toward Henyard and the political structure that allowed her to gain power, sparking public outrage over the situation. Many now view what appeared to be an empowering political ascent as an attempt to further her own agenda at the expense of the people she was elected to represent. A shocking discovery has added even more drama to the saga. According to reports, Henyard's lover's testimony against her has enhanced the case against her and confirmed the charges of misconduct. The community's feeling of betrayal has only become stronger as additional details of Henyard's alleged wrongdoings come to light. His testimony has added legitimacy to allegations of corruption, causing her followers to scramble to defend her and making it increasingly difficult for even her most loyal supporters to do so. Henyard has rejected the accusations as politically motivated attempts to harm her reputation. Her defense seems to be eroding in light of the mounting facts. By portraying the accusations as a part of a prearranged smear campaign intended to erode her outlook for Dalton's future, her opponents, on the other hand, have exploited the controversy to weaken her political position. The judicial drama and her lover's public testimony have captured the attention of the town, transforming Henyard's fall from grace into a public spectacle that seems more like a scenario from a political thriller than Henyard's actual life. Her political career has reached a turning point, and the likelihood that she will survive the controversy appears to be decreasing with every new disclosure. Many people are beginning to question not only Henyard's future, but also Dalton's ability to bounce back from the damage her leadership has created. The community, which had formerly hoped for advancement under her leadership, now confronts an uncertain future because of the serious erosion of faith in its political leadership caused by Henyard's uncertain future. Her followers continue to cling to the belief that the charges are a deliberate attack on her vision for Dalton, while her critics are becoming increasingly persuaded that her political career is coming to an end. Investigations into her alleged actions have turned up disturbing evidence of illegal appointments made without the necessary approval from Dalton's Board of Trustees, demonstrating a disregard for the laws governing local governance. Henyard is charged with circumventing the proper legal processes by assigning significant individuals to significant and prominent positions in Dalton without obtaining the necessary authorizations. If confirmed, these acts would not only show a flagrant disrespect for the law, but also that Henyard had no intention of undermining the very system she was sworn to uphold. The political unrest in Dalton has devolved into a combination of power, struggles, personal betrayals, and public disenchantment, with Henyard at the center of it all. The more the investigation goes into it, the more it seems that the corruption and poor management were much worse than anyone had expected, especially with the FBI now involved. For the people of Dalton, the question is not whether Henyard will weather the storm, but rather whether the village itself can recover from the scandal. The trust that was once placed in Henyard's leadership has been shattered, and it is unclear whether Dalton can recover from the damage caused by her reign. The specter of federal charges hangs large over Henyard's head, and the walls are closing in the community that was once hopeful for the promise of progress before facing the very real possibility that the political system that allowed her to rise to power was seriously flawed and corrupt. All eyes are on Henyard, her allies, and her detractors as the inquiry continues and fresh material becomes available, anxious to see how this political drama plays out. It is a sobering reminder of how rapidly a promising political career may collapse when trust is broken and the truth is exposed, as well as how corrupting power can be.
I've got some books that's in there. Inside I have from the United States District Courtroom.
Tiffany Henyard's rise to prominence as the village's first female mayor was hailed as historic, but her leadership quickly came under fire, appointing a village administrator, police chief, and attorney, positions that have a direct impact on how a town is run, was one of her first contentious moves. However, rather than altering her strategy or resolving the fundamental legal problems, a judge swiftly banned these nominations because they did not adhere to the necessary legal criteria. Henyard retaliated by fortifying her defenses by associating with others who were thought to be unqualified or incompetent to hold such significant positions. This egregious disregard for governmental and judicial orders set the stage for an extraordinary confrontation between the Henyard's administration, the court system, and the village trustees. In addition to being blatant attempts to circumvent the law, Henyard's activities were audacious and brash, exhibiting a defiance that many residents and critics found unbelievable. They showed that Henyard was more interested in maintaining her personal authority than in doing what was best for the hamlet. She further alienated people who had previously backed her by rejecting the judge's ruling, prohibiting these appointments, which produced a tense and unusual environment. Her critics quickly saw through her behavior, accusing her of choosing people based on merit or community needs rather than trying to surround herself with submissive and faithful people who would not challenge her power. Instead of slowing her down, her reluctance to abide by the court's ruling seemed to give her more confidence, as though she were daring the legal system to catch up with her. Observing this scenario play out has been both interesting and deeply troubling for the residents of Dalton. On the one hand, they have seen their mayor grow from a trailblazer to a leader, the first female mayor of Dalton. Certainly, these acts did not appear to be an effort to build a more powerful government, whose actions seem to be increasingly inconsistent with the values of equity, justice, and voluntarism, given her recurrent disobedience of court rulings, increasing sense of entitlement, and unilateral authority. Many residents are perplexed as to how a leader could accumulate such unchecked power. Although Henyard insists that her choices are motivated by a vision for the village's progress, her critics argue that her behavior suggests a more serious problem and that her leadership may be motivated more by her desire for personal gain than by serving the people. Her passionate supporters are finding it increasingly difficult to defend her as her government continues to go awry, especially as the proof of her malfeasance mounts. Stories about Henyard's contentious choices including her strained relationship with the Board of Trustees, her disregard for the law, and the blockage of her selections, fill the headlines. Tension in the town has only grown as a result of her numerous clashes with the village trustees and her unwillingness to cooperate. These ongoing disputes reveal a leadership approach that values conflict above cooperation. Locals are incensed by Henyard's seeming disregard for protocol and her blatant disdain for the judiciary, and they see your leadership as a toxic mix of ambition and conceit rather than a way to advance things. As the controversy around her leadership heats up, many individuals have come to the realization that Henyard, she no longer cares as much about helping the village as she did about preserving her own power and dominance over Henyard. Her stubbornness to make concessions and her steadfast faith in her own superiority have created a dangerous political environment as her acts continue to push the limits of acceptable government. Instead of encouraging cooperation and the development of agreement, she has created an environment of mistrust and division, which has led to a decline in her followers and an increase in the volume and vociferousness of her detractors. Concerns about the possible long-term consequences of her leadership have grown. What does Dalton's future hold in Henyard's Blatton's contempt for the law, her relentless attempts to consolidate power, and her disregard for court orders are gravely casting doubt on the legitimacy of the village's democratic system.
The government always does it, is to go and investigate people around her.
In a stunning turn of events in the ongoing political drama surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard, witness previously seen as a peripheral figure suddenly entered the courtroom and made explosive accusations that could potentially destroy Henyard career and engulf the town of Dalton, Illinois, in a full-blown scandal. The testimony claimed that Henyard, once celebrated as the town's first female mayor, had been abusing her office for personal gain, engaging in a pattern of financial misconduct that prioritized her luxurious lifestyle over the welfare of the community. She was elected to serve. The allegations suggest that Henyard misused municipal funds to finance extravagant vacations, lavish purchases, and other indulgences, leaving Dalton's residents to struggle in the wake of her mismanagement. These claims go beyond just financial misconduct, extending to accusations of bribery and misuse of power, painting Henyard as a leader who used her authority to engage in underhanded deals with local businesses, accepting payments in exchange for favorable treatment. According to the testimony, Henyard allegedly facilitated fast-tracked permits, ignored rules, and engaged in other questionable actions, undermining the integrity of local governance. If the claims are true, Henyard's actions represent a blatant abuse of power, turning the principles of public service on their head in favor of personal gain. The testimony paints a disturbing portrait of a mayor who used her position to create a system that benefited her while eroding the trust and accountability that a functioning democracy requires. If verified, the allegations could demonstrate how Henyard prioritized personal luxury over the people of Dalton, leaving the town to bear the consequences of her greed and carelessness. This breach of public trust strikes at the very heart of Dalton's governance, especially considering the community already faces significant financial difficulties, with many households earning far less than Henyard's own substantial salary. Residents are left to wonder just how much of their tax dollars have been misused for the mayor's personal pursuits instead of funding essential community programs like infrastructure, education, and public services. The claims paint a larger picture of an administration riddled with potential wrongdoing, where personal advantage seems to have been consistently placed above the general welfare of the people. The shock weights from these accusations have been felt far beyond the courtroom, as Dalton's residents now face the sobering realization that the leader they once trusted to guide them to a better future may have been more concerned with her own interests all along. The idea of a mayor using her power to favor certain businesses and individuals engaging in under-the-table deals and encouraging favoritism has not only destroyed the community's trust in her, but has raised serious concerns about the depth of corruption within her administration. As the investigation continues, the question arises, could these violations be just the tip of the iceberg? What about her political and personal ties that may have allowed her to go unpunished for so long? Henyard's response to the allegations has been largely one of denial, framing the accusations as part of a politically motivated smear campaign. However, her relationships with powerful individuals and associates are now under intense scrutiny, with some suggesting that these connections may have enabled or concealed her alleged wrongdoings. As the investigation into these ties continues, the need for transparency and accountability has become more urgent. Residents of Dalton are calling for justice, demanding a full investigation into Henyard's actions and the potential consequences for the future of the town. Meanwhile, the witness's testimony has further fueled the growing calls for accountability, with critics questioning the extent of Henyard's influence and whether her connections have compromised other parts of Dalton's administration. As the situation continues to unfold, the once promising future of Hen-Y's leadership is now in serious jeopardy, and the people of Dalton are left to grapple with the fallout of this scandalous political drama.
Invoices lead to more questions, and sometimes we don't get answers to those questions. And so it's not about clickbait, it's about just making sure.
The legal drama surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard took an explosive turn when her lover suddenly took the stand and disclosed private facts, leaving the mayor clearly shaken. After listening to his evidence, Henyard reportedly lost it, yelling at him and disrupting the proceedings. Tension spread across the neighborhood as a result of the public's heightened reaction to her outburst. The recent events infuriated Dolphin residents who were already disillusioned with Henyard leadership, and they demanded accountability for what they saw as her emotional outburst. This only strengthened the impression that she was losing control of the situation as a whole, not just her temper. Her reckless abuse of authority clearly infuriated the people, and comments calling for her resignation flooded social media. Many of them accused her of breaking their confidence, and one commenter was especially harsh, calling Henyard corrupt as they come and demanding that she be put in jail for what they saw as blatant and traceable crimes. As public outrage grew, the people became increasingly frustrated because Henyard, who was supposed to be working for the town, had seemingly prioritized her personal interests over Dalton's well-being. Henyard's response was everything but modest, contrary to your expectations that she would keep quiet, attempt to salvage what reputation she still had, or offer an apology for the spectacle. The village hall was unable to accommodate the increasing number of people, so she arrived late to a village board meeting at the nearby Park District facility despite the increasing pressure. The audience was not having any of it and welcomed her with alcohol when she attempted to take the lead and deliver a speech as though nothing was amiss. Making it clear they were not willing to let her escape the consequences of her actions so easily, Henyard's response to the public's dissatisfaction was to leave the meeting after receiving invoices which only led to more questions about her spending and management of public funds. Even worse, some locals alleged that the village trustees had violated the state's open meetings law, further complicating the situation and intensifying the scrutiny on Henyard's administration. In a desperate attempt to regain control of the narrative, Henyard asserted that the accusations against her were part of a political plot to weaken her authority and derail her re-election campaign. She even posted an enigmatic message on Facebook calling on her supporters to stand by her, saying, "I need all my black sheep to stand with me. If God is for us, then who can be against us?" However, it remained unclear how much support Henyard still had left, given the overwhelming backlash she was facing from the public. Meanwhile, a federal investigation into Henyard's administration had been unfolding for nearly a year, shedding light on questionable spending and the dubious financial dealings of the South suburban politician. Although only the partial details had emerged, it was clear that federal officials were taking the matter seriously, with Henyard's closest allies now being pulled into the inquiry. Rumors had begun to circulate that Henyard's inner circle was starting to crumble under the weight of the mounting pressure. The once strong political network she had built seemed to be unraveling as the federal investigation tightened its grip, and it became increasingly difficult to maintain the facade of a leader who had the town's best interests at heart. As Henyard's scandal deepened, the people of Dalton were left to wonder if the mayor's political career was truly over, or if she could somehow survive the storm that was engulfing her. The situation had gone from a localized issue to a full-blown political crisis, one that threatened not only Henyard's future but the very stability of Dalton's government. The people of Dalton, who had once trusted her leadership, were now questioning whether they had been wronged by her acts, which had far-reaching effects. The courtroom drama surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard took a dramatic turn when her lover suddenly took the stand and disclosed private facts that stunned both Henyard and the court. Henyard, obviously shaken by the discoveries, lost control, yelling at her lover and even interfering with the proceedings. As the tension in the courtroom swiftly reached a boiling point, she seemed to be losing control of the situation overall. Not just her temper, and her emotional outburst just made matters worse. The political unrest under Henyard's leadership had already disturbed Dolphin locals, and this latest incident only served to increase their annoyance. The people was eager to respond, since they were already fed up with the ongoing chaos surrounding Henyard's administration. Witnesses said it was clear that the residents were demanding answers because they were tired of the mayor's bad leadership and lack of openness. One commenter accused Henyard of breaching the community's confidence by saying that she was as crooked as they come and that her crimes were obvious and traceable. She should be imprisoned for her activities. According to the flurry of comments on social media, Henyard's efforts to maintain order during a village board meeting only made matters worse. Her attempt to assume control and deliver a speech as though nothing was wrong was met with booing by the villagers, who made it apparent that they would no longer tolerate the manner she handled the matter. She showed up late for the meeting in the local park department office, despite the mounting pressure because the village hall was unable to accommodate the growing number of people. Henyard continued to work toward her objectives, but her efforts only served to increase tension. Many people believed that the person who was supposed to be serving them was ignoring their issues, which created a frustrated environment in the room. Some locals pointed out that they never received sufficient answers regarding the purpose of particular expenditures, and she left the conference after getting invoices that simply raised additional doubts about her spending. As the controversy spread, detractors charged that Henyard had purposefully broken openness and transparency laws to cover up her behavior. Henyard and her followers responded by attempting to frame the entire episode as a politically driven attack. Henyard even shared an enigmatic Facebook post that said, "I need all my black sheep to stand with me. If God is for us, then who can be against us?" Although this remark seemed to be an attempt to mobilize her remaining supporters, the growing public indignation suggested that her base of support was quickly eroding as the circumstances became more precarious. Further criticism was leveled at Henyard's leadership, with many wondering if she handled the situation more to protect her own image than to address Dalton's issues. The focus of the federal inquiry into Henyard's behavior shifted to questionable financial transactions. In the meanwhile, a months-long federal inquiry into the South suburban legislator had previously exposed a history of dubious spending and financial mismanagement. Residents of Dalton began to question whether their own elected leader had deceived them as the tale went on, with many beginning to question how much of the town's resources had been taken to support Henyard's lifestyle. Because Henyard, who had previously been viewed as a trailblazer for the town, now appeared to be exploiting her position for personal benefit rather than for the betterment of Dalton. These discoveries only served to heighten the sense of betrayal among the population. Several of Henyard's closest supporters had already been drawn to the probe, raising the possibility that the level of corruption in the mayor's office was far higher than first thought. The consequences of these scandals had already begun to harm Henyard's political career, despite her attempts to dismiss the charges as politically motivated. The federal investigation served as a clear reminder of how unchecked power can lead to corruption and the breakdown of public confidence. Dalton residents who had previously trusted the mayor's leadership were now wondering if they had been duped for the past year, as the mayor's formerly bright political future appeared to be fading. While many citizens and observers have only seen half of the tale, federal officials are now looking into the full scope of Mayor Tiffany Henyard's actions, further complicating the already complex scandal. Rumors of corruption and poor management are still spreading, and there are whispers that Henyard's once strong inner circle is starting to crumble under the strain. Her boyfriend and other closest friends have been drawn into the investigation, and his testimony has been a game changer, making many feel even more betrayed. It appears that the scandal is only getting worse, and every new revelation makes the situation worse, even though Henyard's administration has complied with certain financial restrictions, given that former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot has openly declared that the village's finances are in ruins as a result of careless spending and a serious lack of supervision. It is evident that Henyard's leadership is causing the entire governmental structure in Dalton to collapse. Given the town's already difficult financial state, The people who earlier supported her vision for the town are now very anxious about what lies ahead for their community. A trustee who openly stated that they had had enough of Henyard's shenanigans and demanded that real leadership take control revealed one of the most startling findings. Even Henyard's most loyal followers were finding it difficult to defend her, especially in the wake of the explosive incident. And another observer said they couldn't believe she hadn't stolen the money and entirely deserted her constituency. Court testimony that has shed light on her leadership style. Deeper conflicts within Dalton's political system have been revealed by her boyfriend's choice to turn on her in court, as trustees and local political figures seem to feel more and more threatened by Henyard's leadership. More testimony is expected in the coming weeks, and the issue is only going to get worse as the controversy intensifies. Rumor has it that if Henyard is convicted of the corruption accusations against her, more incriminating information could soon come to light. Her political recovery seems doubtful, and even if she avoids jail time, the harm to her reputation might be irreparable, seriously jeopardizing Dalton's future. Village residents are keeping a careful eye on the issue as it develops, since they are already tired of the economic uncertainty brought on by Henyard's leadership. She is under increasing pressure from the trustees to step down, and Henyard's situation is only becoming worse as the federal probe continues to hang over her. Beginning with allegations of financial mismanagement and corruption, this scandal has developed into a full-fledged political crisis with unknown repercussions. One thing is certain: Dalton's future is in danger, and with its leadership mired in instability, things could grow worse. What happens next for Henyard is still up in the air. The residents of Dalton are left wondering what will happen to their town and whether this is the end of Henyard's time as mayor. If she is unable to redeem her name, will she struggle to keep her work, or will she quit as the investigation continues? It is clear that this political crisis will not be forgotten anytime soon, but only time will tell what this episode means for Dalton's future. I appreciate you seeing, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, Celebrity Insider